Greetings, gardening friends. Today I want to show you a little bit of a project that I've been working on and show you a little bit of construction and why I'm doing it. So here's the issue. I've got plants in some of these planter boxes here that are things I plant just aren't growing, and I'm not sure why they're not growing. So I decided what I'm going to go ahead and do is empty out, well, not completely empty. I took about half the soil out of this particular box, and so what I'm going to try and do is actually sift the soil, because if you look back behind it, I've got these other flower boxes where I've tried some experiments with sifted soil, and if you look for some of the other episodes, you'll see them. The sifted soil technique seems to be working in terms of allowing things to germinate a little faster. So I'm kind of hoping that that's what will happen with this. But the problem is with the sifting, ultimately, it's taking me a long time just doing it a little bit at a time. So this is my solution, a sifter box. What I was doing before was I had a piece of screening material and I was just holding it over another, actually there's a smaller box of that black tray that you can see there. I was just holding it over that and manually pushing the soil back and forth with my fingers until it separated, and then emptying that into a couple of different buckets. And I realized if I had an actual box, then I could be a little bit more mechanical and just shake the box, and I should probably be able to get a lot more to go through this much screen. And I decided to make it a sort of medium-sized box because it'll fit over a lot of different pots that I have. So I can fit it over that one. It's not perfect, but if I'm sifting and a little bit falls out the side, it'll land on the table here, so I can ultimately sweep that up and re-sift it. And so I'm going to go ahead and show you. I already recorded how I built the box, so I'll go ahead and show you that, and then I'll show you the results. Okay folks, so seeing as the sifting the soil has been fairly productive and successful with the experiments I've been working on, I decided I needed to build a better sifter, because what I was using just wasn't, it was taking me forever to sift the soil a little bit at a time. I wanted to build a box and put a screen on it, and what you're looking at right now is probably the very first box I built when I started building the planter boxes as opposed to regular garden pots. So what I'm going to do is, since this one was really just kind of a mess to begin with, I'm going to go ahead and use what's here and rebuild it a little bit and add some screening to it, and I'll show you what I've got. First, I'm going to go ahead and try and remove the bottom of the box. Okay, this is old wood. It's not really the best, and it didn't come off completely. Let me keep going. Okay, something I hadn't quite realized with this was that this part right here, I've got my finger up against the thing, you can see it's not flush like the other three corners are pretty flush, so that's kind of the problem with the quality of build there. So I'm going to have to figure out what to do. Okay, so as it turns out, it was just I really couldn't straighten it out, and it started falling apart. I got multiple pieces for one of the sides, and if you compare the two end pieces, they're not the same thickness. So this is just basically scrap wood at this point. So I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is build something else using the cedar. Okay, so I've decided I'm going to go ahead and use 4 pieces that are all the same length. Actually, I got to double check that, but they appear to be. The one problem is this one piece has all these holes in it, but what I can do is take a piece of tape and put that on one side or the other just to prevent dirt from flowing through. And then I'll show you the box and the screening as we go. Okay, there you go folks, that's the finished box. It kind of fought me a little bit because for some reason after I got 3 sides nailed together, trying to get the last corner together, it didn't line up. So I just had to kind of force it and nail it in, and it's holding and it's flush on both sides. So I think that's going to work. Next we'll add the screen, and I'm just going to staple the screening material to it. Alright, now that I've used my handy dandy staple gun, I've got 3 sides of this put together. I wanted to show you kind of how I do it. I've got a number of staples running along here with the screening. First I cut the screening obviously to overlap by a little bit. I put the staples in on this side, then I flip it 180 degrees, opposite side, and pull it tight and put staples there. Then the next thing is I actually folded the corners in order to be able to maintain a really tight fit in the opposite direction. And I wanted to actually show you how I'm doing that. So what I'm doing is folding this down, make sure that's still in frame there, folding this down, pulling it as tight as I can, get a staple in there, and fold down the other side. And I'm trying to pull it tight at the same time, get a staple in there, and then I'm folding this over so you end up with a 45-degree angle, and pulling as tight as I can, staple, pull as tight as I can, staple, and I'll just fill in the rest with staples while also pulling. Okay, I'll admit it, it didn't take me very long to figure out that I needed a bigger bucket. Stuff was just kind of falling out around the sides. I didn't think it was going to be a big deal, but just trying to shake it around or move it around at all, too much of a problem. So big old 5-gallon bucket fits just about perfectly under this thing, and so I just dump a bunch of stuff in there, swirl it around with my hand. I thought I was going to be able to just shake it. It doesn't quite work that way. I have to kind of move it around with my hand, but it is definitely going faster. Alright, so it would have taken me about a half hour to 45 minutes yesterday. Seems to have been knocked down to 10 minutes or less today, so that's pretty good progress. I've already put some of the coarse back in and all of the fine back in, so now I can decide what kind of seed I want to plant in there, and I'll put the rest of the coarse on top of it. And just to document it, this is the first of 4 planters where I'm going to do this sort of scrape and sift technique. I didn't completely refill all of the coarse that I had because I didn't want to bury the seeds too deep, but I buried or planted mesclun. I don't really necessarily like all the different types of lettuce in mesclun, but we'll see what pops up, if anything germinates at all. Okay, the next one took me even less time, probably 10 minutes total to pull everything out. It was 3 quarts worth of material I pulled out, sifted it, put some coarse on the bottom. I basically looked at how much coarse I wanted to put on the top and poured out all the rest of it towards the bottom, so then I could put the fine on top of it. And I put down black-seeded Simpson lettuce, and now I'm going to fill in the rest of it and go hit the next one. Next up, we've got Tonda di Perighi. I've processed